constructive feedback is important. Sure, it sucks, and some of it may or may not be applicable as you think it should be, but the reality is, if you don't receive it and you're like, I know what I'm doing, I don't need anybody's advice, I got this, you'll be the last person in your company just like you were the first person.
Oh, wow. That's strong.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Aging Entrepreneur. And we had a little bit of a hiatus last week. I was actually out of town. Didn't work out on timing, but we're back. And just to let you guys know that we actually have a guest coming up soon. He has 3 different companies. Can't wait to talk more about him in the next episode, which will be awesome. But for today's episode, we're actually going to talk about building your network. And this is important because you can't do this alone, can you?
No, you're going to rely on people, and you've got a lot of people that are in your life that are willing and able to help you. You have a lot of people in your life that will dodge you like the plague, and you will have people in your life that will pretend to want to help you and will do nothing to help you move the ball down the field.
No, they'll just act like they can do a lot for you, but the second you lean on them, they fall over.
It sounds a lot like this. Well, I hope that works out for you. You can spot it, Michael.
Yeah, you can. So one of the reasons why I wanted to bring this episode to light was I've actually had quite a few times in the past somebody start a company and they ask me, how did you get the ball moving and stuff? Like, well, you got to kind of build your network a little bit. And then you have to, and they're like, what do you mean by building your network? Because a lot of people don't even know what that means. When they think network, they think they're friends. And then colleges and stuff, they don't necessarily teach this. But reality is, like, you have to go inject yourself into places that could really benefit you in some degree. Find where you, like, whatever your business is, find where those people hang out, essentially. And that's sometimes a little weird at first to find.
You know, some other areas, Michael, is identifying key people in the area that you're trying to break into.
Yeah.
Some of them will be willing to help you. Some of them will view you as competition. Some of them are just going to be hard to get in touch with. And I'd like to talk today about how to approach those people. Definitely want to talk about how your existing network is there to support you, what that existing network looks like that you were talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this is why I tell a lot of people, if you're starting a business and you're like, I need to find people to help me or just grow a little bit, the best place, 99% of the time, you are in a city that has a chamber. And in that chamber, there are members that you can go to events and find these members. And I put in my note here, fresh meat, when I see new people at chamber events. When you go to like a chamber event, I had to remind people that are new, I say, we all want to talk to you. We want to know more about you and how we can help you and vice versa. But when I first see them, they're always like standing in the corner, just kind of looking around, drinking their coffee. It doesn't say anything to anybody, but you have to inject yourself a little bit because sometimes it feels like you're in they're like cliques, but it's not really cliques. They're like, no, come talk to us too. But sometimes you got to make the first step.
No doubt about it. Being assertive and being interested in others, not being that wallflower.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I mean, we've all seen those at events. And it's not just awkward for you, it's awkward for other people too, right? So, like, you standing in the corner, they want to engage you. You have to make yourself available for people to engage you.
Yeah.
Just staring at your phone is not going to help.
Yeah, if you're looking down your phone, checking your email or Facebook or just trying to make the time pass faster, people have a hard time walking up to you. But if you're looking around, just walk into the crowd, say, hey, my name is Michael. How are you? And then the conversation starts. And then you can talk about, and this is what I think we've all learned here is don't talk about yourself. Listen, like ask about them. Because people, if you ask them about what they're doing, what they're up to, like some of the best questions I've heard is, what kind of book are you listening or reading right now? Or
listening to is good.
Yeah, listening. Yeah.
That's me. I'm
listening. I don't read. But anyway, but it's like I want to get to know you a little bit more. And you got to dig into that. And you should never, this is something I think a lot of people make mistakes on, don't go into like an event that's a network event and think, how can I get my next sale from these people? Because if you go in that intention, like I just want money from these people, it comes off wrong 90% of the time.
What's interesting about that is just about every networking event that I've ever been to, they are there. Those people are there to grow their own business.
Yeah.
So if you want to stand out, even as a new person, act interested in their business.
100%. Yeah.
And they're going to be like, man, that guy was awesome. I didn't say 2 words, but I'm all of a sudden the most popular person in the room because I was asking them questions about their business. And all of a sudden they want to book a meeting with me, or they want to have coffee with me just to learn more about my life, what's going on in my world, and how we could help each other.
Yeah, exactly. I think there was one event I went to. What was it called? It was like Birmingham Startup Drinks. That's what it was called. You ever been to Startup Drinks?
I have not.
So I've been a long time. COVID killed it for a while. I haven't gone because it used to be like a once a month thing. But I had this distinct memory to one of the events I went to. One of the guys there, never seen him before. So I start talking to him, and he's like what do you want to call it? An engineer that had developed something in the medical field, and he was trying to find some way to get it funded. And he was literally there trying to ask people for money.
How'd that go?
It didn't.
Yeah, I bet he was not asked to come back.
No, I said, like, there's a lot of good people here, but your approach will do nothing for you. I pointed over to a guy. I said, you should talk to him in terms of get coffee with him and ask him tell me more about your funding experience, because he was a startup. I forget the name of the company, but I remember they got funded, blah, 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 and it worked out. I said, that's someone you need to have a conversation with, not to get their money, but to say, how did you do that? And how can I learn from that?
Look for the people that are successful in the areas you were trying to tap into.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I talked about a minute ago. Mm-hmm. Is here's a person who's effectively learned how to raise money. You know who else is good at raising money is church leaders. So if you're in church, or you're religious or spiritual or whatever, maybe reach out to your pastor and say, hey, what can I do to raise money? You have to ask people to give you money every single week. Not really ask, but like you've created this habit of people tithing at your church. How can I attract investors in what we're doing?
Yep. Yeah, it's something like you want to surround yourself with people that you want to strive to be, like parts of them, right? So all that being said, there's a lot of just rookie mistakes, and you can leave bad taste in people's mouth. And if you just default to, like Nick was saying earlier, be interested in them, and then they'll return the favor over time.
Yeah, and there's going to be different types of people that you're going to reach out to. I know we're going to talk a lot about networking. We're going to talk a lot about chambers, but there's the strategic people that are not going to give you anything other than guidance and good advice.
Yeah. There are some people that one of the favorite things I've learned over time is people love just to give knowledge. Like, they're happy to go to lunch or go to coffee with you, but that's where it stops. They don't want to necessarily give you business. They don't want to necessarily do anything with you other than give the knowledge over. Like, let me tell you some stuff that I know because I feel really good about it, and I feel great when I tell somebody about it. But that's kind of where that person stops. Like, there are people that reach out to me I've had coffee with, and they're just leaning on me for some advice, knowing, like, I'm not going to work with you. You're probably never going to work with me, but I'm happy to help you too.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, I feel like a lot of this is going to fall into 3 main categories. You're going to have that network person, that person that you're in a relationship with that you're going to go to for advice, or maybe you're not in a relationship with them and you want to be in a relationship with them, and you're going to be reaching out to them because they're further along in their career than you are, or further along in their business than you are.
Yeah.
Then there's going to be your network, and you've heard it said over and over, your network is your net worth. Right. Mm-hmm. And that's simply because you can leverage relationships when done properly to help you grow your business. And these are groups of people that you're going to tap into that are going to help grow your business. They're going to either feed you referrals, or they're going to do business with you directly, or whatever. Then there's the third person or third group of people, and that's people that you're helping.
Yep.
I'll tell you, one of the best ways to grow your business is to help other people grow theirs.
It's true. It definitely helps. And then on the flip side of that, there is a boundary you want to place with that too, because some people will actually take full advantage of you and your help, where you're so nice, like, yeah, I'll help you, it's fine, but then they not intentionally will take advantage of it. There are definitely some people I'm sure you've come across where you helped, and it's become a one-sided relationship.
I know a few. I know a few that are like that.
Yeah.
Why don't we start there then? Even though we're 10 minutes into our cast here, why don't we start there with tapping into the group of people that you know that you're going to be able to pour into and how to set up proper boundaries?
Yeah, so I think part of that before you even fully tap in is you need to help set in your mind what you're really good at and what you want to help people with. Because like a good example, people assume I know IT work and I know IT stuff, and
I assume that.
right, but it's not good. It's not good for me to say, yeah, I'll help you with your email setup. I'll help you with your computer broke. Yeah, I could help you with that. Technically, I could, but I also know mentally if I do that, I've set myself up for failure the next time they ask for it, and I do not have time for it.
A great real world today, right now, while I'm getting text, is saying, "Hey, I'll help you build those forms out."
Yeah.
Yeah, that's come up now to bite me big time in the butt, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not that I can't do it; it's that the amount of time that it's taken for me to do this is way out of balance.
Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
That's a good litmus test on everything. Is run it through. Can I do this? Should I do this?
Yeah.
And then the further part of that litmus test is it win-win?
Yeah, and sometimes, and it hurts because naturally, if you're starting a business, you don't like no in your vocabulary. You want yes, 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 and then at some point you're going to have to say no, no, I can't do that, no, and then people will figure that out. But there's a line. But at the same time, like, am I going to disrupt the relationship if I say no? Well, if it's a true two-sided relationship, then you say no, they understand.
Yeah, and I'm finally at that place in my life because my default is a people pleaser.
Yeah, most are.
But I'm now in that place in my life where I'm like, no, I'm not mad at you, but no, I'm not going to do that. And I don't feel bad for it, and I'm not apologizing for it. And I don't think I'm better than anybody. That's not it. It's just like I'm at a place now where here's what I've done. This is important. I just had a revelation. I've identified what's important to me, and if maybe I am selfish, I don't know. If I'm going to be able to benefit that person and I'm going to feel good about benefiting that person, then I don't mind taking the time to do that. If I don't know you, like you, trust you, any of these things, like I don't feel like I should have to have an obligation to do things for you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And that's just because of where I am in life right now. If I'm not careful, I'll get way out of balance helping people that really there's no opportunity to reciprocate. And that is called charity.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't own a charity. I'm not a charity. Yeah. And so be selective in your charity. And I mean that because I still want you to help people that gives you nothing in return. But if you're not selective and identified what that charity looks like to you, you're going to say yes to everything and you will be miserable and you will start to resent people.
Yep. Well, I remember the previous company I was at. I've learned that you never, ever get the title the man, because that means you can do anything that anybody asks you to do and you just do it. And that's a bad place to be.
I fortunately have not received that title.
I have multiple times.
Right. I'm in this weird place where I own a company. I'm still not the man.
You're the marketer.
I'm the marketer. But I'm very specific in that, right? It's not Nick the man. It's Nick the marketer.
That's so funny.
And when it comes to marketing related stuff, man, I'll hop in both feet, right?
Yeah.
But if it comes to some other areas that I'm not so good at, I bring other people in.
Yeah.
Not shying away from that at all.
Well, and I think some of that too. So I think a lot of people, if they don't know much about what you do or about your industry that you're in, they're going to make some assumptions based on what they know. And they're going to, not assume, but associate you with certain things because that's all they don't know the difference, right? Mm-hmm. And that's the important part as a business owner or as just a person yourself is how you properly educate people on that and making sure they understand that. And the sooner you communicate that at the front end, the most likely it will stick and it won't be hurting people's feelings when you communicate it on the back end.
as a new business, you're going to have people that you're going to want to pour into them, and they're going to want to take advantage of your time.
Yeah.
And this is that first relationship that we were talking about, Michael, where you want to be able to pour into other people, because what's going to happen when you do that is eventually they're going to reciprocate in some kind of way.
Yeah.
Right? That they may refer you out to somebody, they may use you themselves in their business. Let's just say that you own a roofing company. Somewhere down the road, they may need a roof. You help them. They're going to remember that, and they're going to reciprocate.
Yeah.
So that first relationship is, I say first, really the third. We're going backwards, right? We're going backwards. The
Okay.
third relationship is the people that you're pouring into.
Yeah.
That second relationship, though, Michael, is your network, right? And I'm hoping if you're an aging entrepreneur, you have a network built from previous careers of people that you can call on, people that you can talk to. Maybe you already have experienced chambers of commerce or dedicated networking groups such as, BNI or Teamworks or anything like that.
Yeah.
And you have this network that you can already tap into where you're intentional about how you're doing business. You're giving referrals. You're asking for referrals. So if you're in startup mode and you're in that first phase of business, Michael, that I would argue, go to that group and say, this is what I'm doing. This is what I need. Here's how you can help me. How can I help you? And make it mutual.
Yeah. Well, and it's also, I've had some people like one-to-ones and whatnot, and a couple of members in like my BNI group, like they've left a group because they went and started something.
Right.
And I remember having a one-to-one with a couple of them, and they kind of used me as like a soundboard. I'm going to put this idea in front of you. What are your thoughts about it? What would you do? That type of stuff. But you got to be, all that being said, you have to be vulnerable with your network. I'm doing something that I'm uncomfortable with or I'm not quite sure about, and I'm looking at people right now saying, I may need some help, or at least some guidance on what could I do to make it better, or my first actual steps.
Interesting. And that falls a lot into lines with picking your brain, right?
Yeah.
Right. So you have to be careful about this. You have to do it the right way.
Yeah.
You don't want to go around picking everybody's brain, because what that sounds like to most people who's had their brain picked is, I want to completely cannibalize your time. I want to learn and take as much from you as possible, and I'm not even going to write it down and put it into action.
Yeah, it's like I just want somebody to give me feedback, but I'm not actually going to do anything with it. And so I think one thing to make sure that you are intentional with people with that, and make sure you're doing it properly. Set real time limits on it. Hey, can I have 30 minutes of your time? And when that 30 minutes is up, hey, it's been 30 minutes. Thank you. I don't want to waste any more time. Let's move forward. Thank you again. I'll check back in a few months, whatever it is. And then also, as a person, if I gave you advice and you came back to me like a month later, hey, I did what you said, and this happened, and it's awesome. That was like, well, what else can I tell you? Like, what else can I help you with? Because I remember in the 7-figure agency, so when the We Connect thing came up, I said to Jody, I said, can I meet with you and learn about this? Sure. 20 minutes into that, 20 minute, had a 20-minute meeting with him, and then a week later I sent him back and said, hey, I've implemented it. Here it goes. He's like, awesome. And now I've become like whenever I'm in a group of people and he's talking about it, he said, hey, Michael, are you on the call? Yeah. Well, tell us about it.
Application.
Yeah.
It's funny. The Bible says, know the truth, and the truth will set you free. It's the only time really in the Bible I've ever disagreed. And it's probably just because it's translated into English wrong or something, right? It's probably written perfectly.
It's like one word wrong.
It's not that the truth will set you free. It's the application of that truth, right?
Yeah.
So same thing with any mentor relationship. The knowledge on how to do something will not take you to the next level. The application of the knowledge will take you to the next level.
Yeah. I mean, you could even make the argument with lots of these book authors that write books about how to make your business better. And you can sit there and read all of them and be you can answer trivia all day about them. Doesn't fix your business.
We call that information constipation.
Yeah, exactly. And I used to know somebody that could quote out stuff all day long about it and joke about how important it is, and there wasn't a single evidence that any of it was being done in that person's life.
And, it's weird. And I'm super intentional about that. It's funny. my personality default tends to be a little negative. I don't mean for it to be that way. Sometimes it's just the product of the environment that I was in, and I work on it constantly. I was complaining to you the other day about a book.
Yeah, the book I suggested.
But you made another suggestion that was super important that I genuinely didn't know you could do.
What's
speed it up? So the book is called Surrounded by Idiots, and now I'm like 4 or 5 chapters in. Okay?
It's a long
because I wanted to hear it. I've already read Personality Plus. This is just a modern version of it that doesn't sound like Aristotle, right? So, but the point I'm trying to make though is I had a real opportunity to not take what you had given me and apply it. You had given me something that you thought I would benefit from. I made a solid go at it, but I immediately came back to you and I was like, every excuse not to do this, right?
No, the even funnier part was you had the way it came up that it was too slow for you. You had said something about a book. I was like, yeah, I really loved Surrounded by Idiots. He's like, yeah, I probably need some because this current one I'm on is just terrible.
Oh yeah, that's right. Keep going.
And I said like, well, okay. He said I don't think I could find Surrounded by Idiots. So what's the cover with the colors? And he's like, oh, that's the book I'm listening to right now. What is so like? It's not terrible. It's just read as an audiobook in a very long, drawn out way. It's a 10.5 hour listen, which is pretty darn long.
It should be 5.
Yeah, it's a very long listen.
Michael, this is how it goes. On chapter 1, we're going to talk about this. And then we're going to talk about the next poignant thought.
And then he keeps...
and then we're going to talk about... It's like, oh my God, the gaps.
The deception is like when he says in conclusion every like 3 paragraphs.
Oh, yeah.
And like, wait, I've already finished. No, that's just this one paragraph.
That's just the one thought. So all that to be said, the book... What's funny is it's changing the shape of what I already knew about that, right? So I have really good knowledge of Personality Plus, which is the same author of this book, but now they're using colors instead of names. So like instead of saying a choleric, you're red.
Yeah,
for example.
And I'm a green mostly.
Right. I don't know what I am yet. I haven't gotten to that chapter yet. So I have thoughts, but anyway, I know what some other people are.
Yeah, it's fascinating too. But that's a different story. Anyway.
Kind of not, because if you're going to be around a bunch of people,
you have to understand how they work.
You have to understand that people are different.
Yeah, and the way they respond, like it's not just introvert, extrovert, like just the way people respond to positive and negative things and how they deal with them is different from you, and you have to recognize that.
That funny about that for me, Michael, I don't know if it's like this for you or for other people. People with similar personalities to me drive me nuts.
Yeah.
Is that like that for you?
To a degree. So I've seen when I see somebody similar personality and I see like they're not doing anything with it or acknowledging the challenges of it, they're just rolling with it. I get frustrated.
Well, I tend to have that outgoing personality, which is funny because I really do believe I'm an introvert.
Yeah.
And here's the litmus test on that really is, and I've said litmus test like 3 times. I'm going to stop saying that.
A piece of paper with color on it.
Yeah. Point I'm trying to make though is if I'm this way and I feel like I'm being obnoxious, or I see somebody that's acting like me and I think they're obnoxious, I immediately go, am I obnoxious? No, what I was going to say is how you know if you're an introvert or an extrovert is simply energy levels. If you get in front of, or you're in a large group of people and that energizes you, you're an extrovert.
Yeah.
If that, you can still do it, you can go out and you can have a good time and you can spend time with people, but when you're done, you're just drained, zapped of energy, you're an introvert.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with it. It doesn't mean you can't do this or you can't do that, or you can do this or you can do that. It's just energy levels on how you respond to those situations. And what's funny is when I go to networking events, maybe this will relate with somebody. When I go to a networking event, by the end of that event, I am zapped of energy.
Oh, yeah.
But everybody's like, you're the best networker.
I see you everywhere.
Yeah, you're everywhere. You're like, I mean, you're Mr. Personality. And I'm going, man, if you knew when I got home at the end of the day, I am dead to the world because I have given all. I tell Heather all the time, I've said every word I know. I'm out. Like I'm done.
I can only talk about weather so many times. Mm-hmm. Man, that weather's nice right now.
Yeah, which has come up a lot in the past couple of days. That's fine.
And then I'm kind of weird in the sense of I know I'm more introverted than extroverted, but I also get energized when I teach a group of people, which you would think would not be an introvert thing. So anyway, like even when I've taught in front of like 40 or 50 students at UAB, I actually enjoyed it. Like I think some of that's because I know that I know in that situation I know more than the people I'm talking to, and I have a chance to give them information. I guess I don't know. I guess that's how energizing me on that.
No, that's good. Well, let's continue the conversation about how to grow your business through your network. So, one of the things that you and I even have other team members in, are in BNI, which is Business Networking International.
Yeah, yeah. And we've actually had a key person as a guest. Was it episode 2?
Sure.
Yeah,
It's in there.
it's in there. Go look it up. But she actually leads up BNI for basically Alabama.
Yeah.
And but BNI is really a fantastic. Even if BNI doesn't make sense for your business in the way like the people in the group, it's still worth visiting because you're going to find people that could probably just help you. Maybe not from a sales revenue standpoint, but from like fix a problem in your business standpoint.
That's right. You know what's funny? I tend to I talked about it earlier in the episode where I tend to have a negative slant, or I come from that. I have to really work not to be negative about things, if that makes sense. And I was complaining about, am I spending the right time and this, that, and the other. And it's funny how spending that time, it pops up because right before we got on this episode, I got a referral from somebody in my BNI.
Did you ask for it, or did it just pop up?
It just popped. Well, I mean, he was at lunch with them earlier today. And my name had come up, and it turned into...
That's so fantastic, considered from earlier today.
Yeah, that's right. It happened today. Here's what's more irritating about it. I don't know if you recall, there's a person in the group that has similar services.
Yeah, yeah.
He was the one talking me up in the meeting. And I'm like, okay, this is why you have to be very slow and methodical in making some big decisions, like quitting a group or something like that.
Yeah.
So anyway, it just made me think of that. The point is as you get around your network, people are going to start to know you, like you, and trust you. Or they may not like you and trust you. That just depends on you, right? But the point is for people to get to know you, learn about what you do, learn about what you offer, and now you can tap into your network. And when something comes out in the marketplace, they think of you because you've educated over time and through authority that you know what you're doing. It takes a little time. It's not overnight, but your network is going to be there to support you, especially in startup mode. I'm telling you, Michael, our company wouldn't exist today had it not been for the networking group BNI. It just wouldn't, because I didn't have leads. I wasn't paying money to get all these lead generation coming into the company. It was people referring me through relationships that I had. That's how I built the company.
And I think sticking to like the golden rule of treating people the way you want to be treated, because that also helps you in the sense of you may have people talk you up where it sounds like they've used you as a customer, like they were a customer to you but never were. But when they start talking you up, it sounds that way because they have such high trust in what you do because of the relationship that you built with them over time.
Absolutely. Another benefit to your network is they will stretch you. They will grow you.
Yeah.
They will push you outside of your comfort zone because oftentimes, if it's set up correctly, they'll see things in you that you don't even see in yourself.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
When I started in doing the type of networking that I'm talking about, which is just intentional networking at chambers and BNIs and those kind of things, professionals groups, anything, right? When I was being intentional about that, I was with another company, and they saw in me things that I didn't see in myself, and they would call me out. Nick, man, what are you doing? You should own your own company. Here's why, this, that, and the other. And at some point, you're going to require somebody else to strengthen your character and to build you up and to help you overcome some of those concerns, some of those fears that you have. Their belief in you sometimes will carry you over the finish line.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because sometimes you need those cheerleaders to help push you and remind you. Because it's always amazing to me. Like you have somebody that has a problem. They're very close to a problem. And they can't decide on an answer because they're just not sure. Then you interject somebody from the outside looking in. They're like, it is super, super obvious what the answer is. It's because it's just when you bring in those type of people, because you have to build that relationship so they can feel comfortable pushing you. Because if you push back every time, they're not going to sit there and try to push you, right? Like you have to be open to your feedback. You have to be, constructive feedback is important. Sure, it sucks, and some of it may or may not be applicable as you think it should be. But the reality is, if you don't receive it and you're like, I know what I'm doing. I don't need anybody's advice. I got this. You'll be the last person in your company, just like you were the first person.
Oh, wow. That's strong.
Yeah.
That's good.
Been there.
Well, part of making sure that you don't become that person is having people in your life that can speak truth to you, right? And what I found for me, Michael, is this number one thing. Like, this is the first place you should go. So we talked about the people that you mentor, the people that you're pouring into. We talked about tapping into your network, right, through chamber events or whatever.
Yeah.
But really seeking after a mentor. Even multiple mentors. I have more than one mentor. It depends on what area of my life. Like I count on some people for my spiritual growth. I count on some people for my business growth. I've got a mentor right now who's teaching me how to fly an airplane.
Yeah.
Right. But he's my mentor and I'm listening to him and I don't question really anything that he says.
No. Yeah, because he could just turn that plane on you too.
Well, it's like, but it's not just that. There's evidence that he knows what he's talking about, right? I'm talking about something very extreme here in an airplane. We're up in the air. He clearly knows more than flying about that plane than I do.
Yeah, yeah.
He's probably forgotten more about how to fly that plane than I know currently, right? So there's going to be people in your life where if you can get your own ego out of the way and you can reach out, for me, in business, it's Richard Mobley. He's a John Maxwell certified coach. He is a friend of mine. He cares about me personally. I care about him personally. And there were times where he told me things I didn't want to hear, Michael.
I bet.
My wife does that, but so did he, right? They tell you things that you don't want to hear, but it's because they care about you. My wife tells me things that I don't want to hear, but it's because she cares about me. Sometimes it's just because she's mad. Sometimes because she cares about me, right? But same with Richard. It's like, hey, look, dude, this is what you're telling me that you want. Okay, your actions need to line up with that. Here's some steps that I would recommend that you take to get to where you're trying to go. And you need that when you're in business. So, Michael, how do you find a mentor?
I mean, it kind of depends on which route you want to go, right? So sometimes you got to, sometimes you got to ask.
Okay, so here's the thing. There's fruit on the tree.
Yeah.
All right. I've got an uncle who he's not in business anymore. He sold his business, but I grew up with an uncle that taught me some things.
Yeah.
And one of the things that he taught me that I love is don't wait until you have all the answers. Get started and then gather around the resources that you need.
Yeah,
You'll never know everything.
No.
Okay. I didn't come up with that by myself, right? Somebody had to tell me that and teach me that. And also what helped is he had fruit on the tree, right? I had my dad's best friend who owned an electric company. I've talked about this way in the past on our episodes here, but I learned things from him. I learned how to ask better questions. I learned how to not take things so seriously from him and that it was okay to fail. Learned from him on that.
Yeah.
Right? And then there's people today in your life, there's people in your past that you can go to. There's people today that are doing what you want to do. Josh Nelson, 7-figure agency. We bring that up a lot, but Josh mentors me. If I need to get on the phone with him, he's not my best friend. He is not my best friend. And I pay him.
Yeah.
Right? But that doesn't make him any less of my mentor because when I go to him, his business is 10 times the size of my business. And we both own digital marketing agencies. And he probably knows some things that I don't know.
Yeah. He's probably made mistakes that he could help you prevent from making.
I told him one, I'm not going to go into detail on it on here, but I was talking to him about some pay and how it works. And I'll never forget his face on a Zoom call. He goes, like that squint. We were talking about how commissions work and stuff like that. And it was such a departure from what he thinks is the right thing to do. I've started to take that into consideration and start working. I'm not going to harm anybody. Not going to beat anybody up on their pay, but he's helping me understand, hey, there's a different way to do this that makes sense for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I would say too, don't fall, not hating on anybody here, but don't fall into the trap that I need a hired business coach to fix all my business problems. There are definitely opportunities for business coaches to do certain things. There's some great ones out there, but that shouldn't be
Both of them.
Yeah. they definitely there's options out there more than just a. Don't think that I need advice from a coach. It could be your uncle or whoever that just so happens to run a business and has done this before. I'm not going to lie. I really wish my grandfather was still alive because the knowledge that he could pour into me for me to apply would have been amazing. Just I remember growing up because he's been dead now. I was 18 when he died, so I'm 33 now. So 15 years ago, and I remember I was like 15, 16 years old listening to him and asking and hearing questions and stuff, and just his ability to talk about it. And I wish he was still around, but it's so funny. But his wife, my Nana, she's still around, and she's heard so much over the years that when any business talk comes up, she interjects her opinion, and it's 99% of the time right because she's been there.
Knowledge by attrition.
Yeah, exactly.
Association.
It's so funny because we were even talking because like shutting down the wedding photography business, and my Nana looks at Courtney and says, "So what are you gonna do now? What's your new business?"
They don't think like employees.
No, not at all. It's
Michael, I would go get a job in a heartbeat if that's what it took to do to take care of my family.
yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that at all. As a matter of fact, thank you for working for me if you're listening to this. The point I'm trying to make though is I've become unemployable because my thought process has changed.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with either one of them, but her thought process is different than most people.
Yep.
And her thought, that would be the question that I would ask. What's your next venture?
Yeah.
Because if you've started a company, it's really hard to get away from that bug.
Yeah, or just realize like, okay, you started one, you're done with it, but because there's benefits to everything if you look at it close enough, and what would you do differently? And it's also like, well, I've done it once, I could probably do it again. Just learn from my mistakes.
Dave Ramsey talks about that all the time when people call into his radio show. It's been a while since I've listened, but back when I was in radio, we carried a show, so I listened all the time. And he would say all the time, if you've learned how to make six figures and you have lost your job, you've already done the hard work to learn how to go do that. You've got what it takes because you've done it before. You just need to get out of your way and go do it again. I think the same thing of a business owner. If you've started a successful business, you have the chops to start another one.
Well, I think it's funny whenever you come across somebody that has started a business and then sold it, give them enough time and they've started another one. And it's probably going to get sold faster because they've skipped all the parts that they weren't sure about last time.
All of the mistakes, there'll be new mistakes.
Yeah.
But the old mistakes were made and learned from.
Yeah, exactly. And even when we interviewed Mia, talking about we now have a process that seems to be working. We're going to take that process and apply it to this new business, and let's see what happens. So all that training that they had basically done to themselves over the years, now they can apply and try again. And all it's doing is just making things a lot faster and more successful. And now you start tweaking rather than making giant changes because you know it works and what doesn't. Even when I came over here to Nick the Marketer, I knew how to sell and how to basically start with a new company and bring it up. Like, I've done that before. And so I knew systems and things that needed to be done and how to do them, and then I just applied it. It didn't take me, like, Nick, you wouldn't have wanted me in the first 3 or 4 years I was at my previous company. I didn't know what I was doing.
That's everybody.
Yeah.
That's everybody.
Yeah, so
that's why we've moved away from hiring startup people or people just out of college, unless it's one of those specific jobs that I know they can do without lots and lots of years of experience.
Yeah, unless we have a key process in place to train them on. Like you have a capability, you can do it. Here's our training. But in our world, the way we are now, we want to hire the people that can bring stuff to the table. We're not having to bring it to the table.
Well, we've been through that season, though, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we've had some people in the past that have worked for us that now they're taking their experience, all the mistakes they made here, they don't have to take those to the next company. And I'm not bitter about that at all, because I feel like if you were to leave this company, I'm putting something good back out into the world.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. Because I cared for them well when I was their employer, because I treated them well. No matter their work ethic, I treated them like a human. Mm-hmm. And they're going to go out into the world and they're going to take the experiences, both good, bad, neutral, whatever, from here, the lessons they've learned, the failures that they've been through, the successes that they've had, and they'll be able to apply that somewhere else. So There's a lot there to be thankful for, even if you have turnover in your employees. I know that's not the point of this podcast, but
Yeah.
that's an example of what I'm talking about.
Well, it's just important. So we dug around these different networking pieces here and there, and I think it doesn't matter if this is your first week of your new business or your 10th year, your network's still important. Like it changes, and your advice that you ask for changes. Like I know chambers even do like entrepreneurial roundtables, the roundtables for business owners to help ask advice from other business owners. Well, like those conversations grow as you grow.
That's right.
Because some of the things that you suffer as a newbie in the world of a business ownership, you're past that. Now you got bigger problems. Like they're just different now. Like I would think even like here at Nick the Marketer, like we had the problems that we have now as a company that we work on versus the problems we had 2.5, 3 years ago are quite a bit different. Like there are some similarities because it's a business, but the reality is we're playing with different things now. It's not just figuring out a simple this or simple that. Now it's like, okay, now we make a change. It can affect right now 10 people.
That's right.
And a lot of customers. And so we have to be methodical, and these are big changes, not quick changes, but bigger changes.
It's exciting times.
Until the changes don't work.
Yeah, well, that's inevitable in some of them, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so let's recap for just a second, Michael. You're going to want to seek out a mentor of some type. Could be a business coach, could be a family member, could be somebody that you don't even know, like I didn't know Josh, right?
Yep.
But seek out somebody or multiple people that are further along, preferably much further along, but further along than you, who you can respectfully honor their time and gain things in return. Sometimes you'll pay for it. Sometimes you'll pay for it in time. Sometimes you'll pay for it in money, right?
Yep.
But you will pay for it. The next thing is to tap into that network. All right. Now, if you don't have a network, go plug into one. You can pay to be in a chamber of commerce. You can pay to be in a BNI. You can pay to be in an all about referrals group.
Yep.
Coffee and contacts, whatever those different types of things are, right? Again, you're going to pay a cost. There's going to be a cost in your time, or there's going to be a cost in your money, sometimes both, right?
Yep.
There's always going to be a trade-off. And then find those people that you're pouring into that you can really genuinely help, because that's strengthening your character, but do it with boundaries.
Yep. Make sure you can say no.
Learn that no is a complete sentence. That'll help, right?
Period.
Make sure that there's boundaries and make sure there's expectations. But those 3 areas of a network are going to be the things that could either get you started right or compel you to go to the next level.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good stuff. And I really think like this is a missing piece for a lot of people because they just assume they can, if they're an owner, they can just do it themselves. And it just doesn't happen.
Well, they also assume that just because I have a product that people will line up at your door to buy it.
Yeah, and then they're running the business internally is not a big deal. It's a lot there.
You know what's funny about that is even if you do run ads or pay somebody to, pay for leads or whatever, we're learning with one of our clients right now that it doesn't matter how good we are at generating leads for them.
If they don't have a process.
If they don't answer their phone, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Or their process sucks, it doesn't matter.
It's like if you sold somebody a car and actually, if you sold somebody a car that's a stick shift and they don't know how to drive one, it's just going to sit in the driveway. And they're going to be mad at you.
Next thing you know, you're getting a call from the attorney.
Exactly.
Michael, it's been a good episode, man. There's been a lot of good nuggets in here.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, guys, thank you again for taking a chance to listen to us. And then next week, we're going to have a guest on, and we're excited for that. So we'll catch you on the next one.
Have a great week. If this podcast inspired you to take action as an entrepreneur, we want to hear about it. Send us an email, agingentrepreneur@gmail.com.
And if you like this episode, please consider leaving us a review or 5 stars on whatever platform you're listening to.
Until then, find your dream and keep chasing it.